Hey, it's Pastor David, and I'm here today with our church report card. Maybe I'm in the mood of school. It's fall, kids are back at school. We dropped the boys off at Florida State last week, and I thought just to spice it up a little, think about it a little differently, give a couple grades on some very traditional ways that we tend to measure church. Um, Not always the best ways, but certainly ways that tell us something about the church. There's many more. But today, what is our grade on our finances, our attendance, and our small connection groups? So let's get started with the finances. And I would give our finances through the end of July an A minus. Pretty good. A minus. Let me tell you why. So let's look here across the top. This is a consistent budget report we do every year. You have here year to date through July, across the top, pledged and unpledged. That's our offering plate. And you'll see that the combination subtotal of our offering plate were a little behind our budget on the offering plate, about $100,000 behind the offering plate, but about $100,000 ahead of last year. And that's something to be celebrated. We're giving in the offering almost $90,000 more than last year through the first 7 months. Yay, A plus on that. Other revenues are the other income we receive, preschool fees, money you spend to send your youth on a mission trip. That all goes in the pool, gets accounted for. We're slightly ahead, about 7%, $153,000 ahead of budget through the first 7 months, and $100,000 ahead of last year. So yay, A plus on that. Our total income, total revenue, offering plate, other revenue is about $50,000 favorable over our budget and about $200,000 favorable over last year. $196,000 out of a budget income to date would be $3 million. So super exciting, A plus on that. Underneath that is our expenses. You see on the left side there, gracious host, passionate seekers, vibrant family, Christ-like servants. That's built upon our vision statement to be a vibrant family. And by family, we don't mean people that feel really good about being together. We mean being a group of folks that have an unbreakable bond despite our differences, people that do life together, even though we don't always agree. We're part of the family, a growing family who will be built on God's grace. That's the gracious host. We're passionate about the Word of God. Word, as I said on Sunday, isn't just the Bible. In the Bible, it says, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among. The Word is Jesus. If we're here to make disciples, then we're going to be passionate about Jesus. If we're doing our mission to make disciples, we're going to be a growing family who is based on God's grace, that are passionate about Jesus, living and serving in the image of Christ. And so these four phrases are built on our vision statement, and they became the description of the four ministry areas. Every ministry team in the church is based in one of these four areas, and they get together. We bring the leaders in every month. We put the people doing ministry at the table. They vision together and they create budgets together. And so what you're seeing here is their expense through the first 7 months of the year. And so gracious host would be like worship and youth and children's ministry. Vibrant family would include our preschools, because we wanted to be a family that included people of all ages and so forth. So you'll see in our expenses, while we are slightly unfavorable in two of our groupings for about $24,000, we are underspending our budget by about $72,000, 4% favorable, A plus. Instead of a budgeted spent of 1.9, we're spent 1.873. And by the way, what I really want to show is this is a lot more. This is a jump in expenses over last year. If you go all the way over to the right, you see last year through the first 7 months, actual expenditure was under 1.7. So really almost $200,000 more in expenses, and yet we're still doing well in the budget. And you'll see that. So you see below that then clergy and benefits, administration, underspending both of them. So our total expenses are under the year-to-date budget by 170,000, even though our budget expenses are almost $200,000 more than last year. Why are they more? Well, because it just costs more. You know that. You see your utility bill, you see your power bill, you see your insurance bill. These are all things that go into our budget, and they're just more. You see your grocery bill. Everything is more. And so the budget expenses are higher than last year through the first 7 months. And yet, because our giving is more, our net total is about, way about $200,000 less than we budgeted at this point. Church goes through this season where you start out strong, beginning of the year up to Easter, and then you kind of crater down through the summer. And people are, traveling, and then you kind of move back up on the sine curve there towards Christmas again. And so we expect in July to be upside down, and we start heading. Our biggest month is December. And we budgeted to be $224,000 in the red at this time of the year. We're only $5,500 in the red. So yay, A plus in that report. And even with all that extra expense, we're still in that place and better than we were at this place last year. The difference, the figure of difference, $4,300 better than we were last year at this time. So all that's fantastic. Why an A minus instead of an A plus? Well, because we're in the red. We're in the red by $5,500. So love to see us be in the black all year long. We're working that way. You see, we've made progress over last year, even though expenses have gone up. Our giving has gone up. In fact, our giving is up 9%. So I just really want to celebrate that with you and say thank you for that and your generosity and what you're doing to help us work through this season. Let's keep it going, and let's finish the year strong as we head into this fall. So A minus, A on the traditional measurement of giving and spending. How are we doing with attendance? Well, I give us an A minus, maybe an A. Year-to-date giving is up, but our year-to-date attendance is up as well. What are we up? We're up 3% over last year through the first 7 months, or first almost we did it through August, first 8 months of the year. Year to date, we're about up 3%. One of the critical standouts of that is the nursery. The nursery has really grown. The nursery is actually up almost 50% over last year. So we've seen more young babies. Attendance, we count attendance. This changes from church to church. Different pastors, I know Pastor Bob and I measured attendance differently. I measure attendance as people in the room at worship and nursery, because you tend to bring your babies with you. Some churches, I know our church here for many years measured also youth group and staff worship and all these other things. I don't do that. So there was a drop in our attendance when I first came because I measured differently. I measure people in the room and the nursery. And our nursery has been growing. Our in the room worship's been growing. We average now through this time of the year 375 people on Sunday in person. Our online worship is down about 10%, 9%. We're still running about 190 views per week. What is a view? Well, that's one of the mysteries. Is that 5 people sitting on a couch watching worship together? Is that one person? Is that somebody watching for 10 minutes? Is that someone watching the whole service? We're still getting our hands around that. We're not unique in that. We're still not sure what this whole online worship is so new in the scheme of history. We're still sorting that out, but still 190 views during worship each week. So, A for the growth and in-person attendance, A for the growth in nursery, B for the decline, but still holding pretty strong, 220 to 190 from last year to this year in terms of online viewing of worship. So good report card so far. A minus. How are we doing in terms of small groups? And I would give us a solid A minus. I know that's going to surprise you. We traditionally run 21 what we call connection groups. That includes Sunday school, 3 Sunday school classes, includes the group that gets together at dinner, the men and the women get together once a month, and then all the other groups that get together to do Bible study and so forth. Does not include mission teams, just includes study groups. 21, we started a new sermon series on what it means to be a disciple, and we're going to talk about what it means to be a Methodist disciple. We started an extra 3 groups. We launched 3 new groups to go with this sermon series. 10 of the groups are following it. Once 3 new groups, that's, 3 out of 21, that's like 14%. It represents about another 30 people that are involved in a small group. So that's fantastic. That's growth the right way. Our attendance is up, our giving is up, our small group participation is up. That's exciting. But those are just traditional markers. There's more. A couple things that I'm excited about. I am excited about the sermon series that we're doing. I feel like we have not always done a good job at using a shared language around the things we're talking about. Because the Methodist Church is strong in bringing people from different faith backgrounds, different denominational experiences, we have different understandings, expectation about some of these church words we use, like disciple and Methodist and church member and Christian. And I feel like that's led to some of the struggle these last few years, and want to get on the same page to a commonly shared language. And so we're doing this sermon series. We started with what is the gospel and heading into what is a disciple, and really focusing on some shared language of a disciple as one who is striving to be with Jesus, becoming like Jesus, and is learning to do the things that Jesus did. The one who was with Jesus, who's becoming like Jesus, one is striving to do the things that Jesus does. And so that's a really transferable definition. When you look at the media, you look at other pastors, the big people online, you look at bloggers, you look at politicians, and they say they're Christian. Question to ask is, are they constantly striving to be with Jesus, to become like Jesus, to do what Jesus does? That's the definition that we're using, and it's already bearing fruit in the conversation we're having in our leadership meetings. And that's really exciting. I think this is going to be a great help to us. I'm also excited about the strategy team. I've been talking about the strategy team. We've been meeting. They present to the leadership council, the leadership board of the church next month. We're getting some real traction. I'm getting juiced about some of the things coming down the road as we learn to build. We focus on building community to make disciples, and neighboring well to help others encounter Christ, and stewarding our resources for God's purpose. 3 areas that we're going to talk about. Building community to make disciples, neighboring well to help others encounter Christ, and stewarding our resources for God's purposes. And we have 7 or 8 goals underneath of that for our strategy. We'll be bringing that to the church. I really feel like we've rounded a little bit of a corner. These last number of years have been tough. We've been through a lot as a church. The church in general has been through a lot, and we live in a different world than we did just 5 years ago. But I feel like the church is like that plant underneath the spring snow that's ready to break forth. That, the work of the roots is happening. There's some growth going on underneath the surface, and people's participation and people's study and how they're going about the being with Jesus and becoming like Jesus and doing what Jesus does. And I feel like we're getting into that space where the shoot is going to break out. And that's exciting. I'm happy with that report card, and I'm thrilled to be a part of this with you. Looking forward to the coming year and what's going to happen around this place and beyond this place. One last note: you may have noticed I'm not dressed up today. I'm in my workout clothes. I went to physical therapy just before this, but I have a deadline for the video. I give my arm an A-. I know that's a shock to you. A- because I'm way ahead of what they said in the schedule. I'm getting mobility back. I'm about maybe 75% back on the mobility. The pain is ebbing. That, thank the Lord. That has been with me, and that is slowly ebbing. It's mostly in my hand at this point. So ahead versus 75%, I give it an A-. And I'm thankful for all of your prayers and your understanding as I go to physical therapy twice a week and working through all these things. I'm out walking the neighborhoods, waving my arms around, trying to get the stuff back. And so I ask for your continued prayers, ask for your continued encouragement. I have great empathy for those of you in our family who are living with constant pain. especially living with nerve pain. I really have empathy for you through all of this. And I covet your prayers for our church and what's going to come and where we're going. And I give thanks for a great report card. I'll see you in church on Sunday. God bless.